Imagine reaching into an old jar of pennies, pulling out a single copper coin, and discovering it could be worth more than a luxury mansion. It sounds impossible, but one tiny detail on a 1973 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent penny with a D mint mark has sent collectors into a frenzy, and the next one could still be hiding in someone's pocket change. Most people see a 1973 D Lincoln penny as nothing more than 1 cent. They spend it without a second thought. They toss it into tip jars, piggy banks, and coffee shop trays every single day. But experienced coin collectors know something the average person doesn't. A handful of these ordinary-looking pennies have become extraordinary because of tiny mistakes, exceptional condition, and rare characteristics that almost nobody notices. Before you assume every 1973 D penny is valuable, there's something you need to know. Millions upon millions were struck at the Denver Mint, making this one of the most common Lincoln cents ever produced. That sounds like bad news, right? Not exactly. Because when millions of coins are made, a few unusual ones almost always slip through quality control. Those rare survivors are the coins that make headlines and attract serious collectors willing to pay astonishing amounts. Here's where the story gets interesting. Picture a mint employee in Denver in 1973. Giant presses are running around the clock. Thousands of pennies pour out every minute. The machines are moving so fast that even the smallest imperfection can create a rare variety before anyone notices. Tiny die crack, a doubled image, an off-center strike, planchet error. These mistakes are incredibly uncommon, but when they happen, they create coins that collectors spend years trying to find. Now imagine one of those error coins quietly entering circulation. It gets spent at a grocery store. It ends up in a child's piggy bank. Decades pass. Nobody realizes they're holding something special. That is exactly why people still search through old penny collections today. But don't stop watching yet, because the biggest surprise isn't simply the date or the Denver Mint mark. It's the condition. Most 1973 D pennies spent years bouncing around in pockets, cash registers, and vending machines. Every scratch lowers their value. Every ding matters. But a coin that somehow escaped circulation and remained nearly perfect can command dramatically higher prices than one that's worn smooth. Professional grading companies use a numerical scale from 1 to 70. A circulated penny might grade extremely fine or about uncirculated. Nice but not extraordinary. The real excitement begins with mint state grades. Coins graded MS66, MS67, or even MS68 become increasingly difficult to find because almost every tiny flaw counts against them. Now think about this. If millions of coins were produced but only a handful survive in nearly flawless condition, those few examples suddenly become scarce. Scarcity creates competition. Competition creates high auction prices. But condition alone isn't the whole story. Some 1973 D Lincoln pennies show fascinating mint errors that collectors eagerly hunt. One of the most popular is an off-center strike. Instead of the design appearing perfectly in the middle, part of the image is shifted toward the edge. If the date remains visible while the strike is dramatically off-center, collectors often become very interested. Another possibility is a broad strike error. Without the collar die holding the blank in place, the finished coin spreads wider than normal. It looks unusual immediately, making it stand out from ordinary pennies. Then there are clipped planchets. Imagine the metal blank being punched incorrectly before striking, leaving a curved section missing from the coin. It may look damaged to an inexperienced eye, but to collectors, a genuine mint-made clip can be extremely desirable. And here's something many people overlook. Die cracks can transform a common coin into an exciting collectible. As mint dies wear out, tiny cracks develop. Those cracks transfer raised lines onto the finished coin. Some are minor. Others become dramatic enough to earn colorful nicknames among collectors. But perhaps the most famous errors involve doubling. A genuine double die displays parts of the design appearing doubled because of how the die itself was created. This is completely different from ordinary machine doubling, which usually adds little value. Learning the difference can mean the difference between spending a penny and discovering a prized collectible. Now here's a question. Have you ever looked closely at the word liberty on an old penny? Or Lincoln's eye? Or the date? Most people never do. Yet experienced collectors examine every letter under magnification because those tiny details sometimes reveal major treasures. Even if your coin isn't an error, don't put it away yet. The metal composition matters too. In 1973, Lincoln cents were still made primarily from copper, unlike modern pennies that contain mostly zinc. Many collectors appreciate these earlier copper cents because of their historical connection and distinctive appearance. While metal alone won't make the coin incredibly valuable, it certainly adds to collector interest. Let's travel back for a moment. America in 1973 was experiencing enormous change. The country faced economic uncertainty, rising inflation, and major political events. Yet billions of everyday transactions still depended on humble 1-cent coins. Nobody imagined that decades later, collectors would carefully study these same pennies under microscopes, searching for tiny details worth thousands of dollars. That is one of the most fascinating parts of coin collecting. History survives in your hands. Now let's talk about color. Professional graders classify copper coins into 3 color categories. Brown coins have naturally darkened over time. Red-brown coins retain some original mint color. But the most desirable are red examples that still display vibrant original luster decades after leaving the mint. Finding a fully red 1973 penny in exceptional condition is much harder than many people realize. Original surfaces become increasingly rare as years pass, making premium examples highly desirable. Here's another twist. Cleaning a coin can destroy its value. Many people believe polishing an old penny will make it more valuable because it shines brighter. Unfortunately, the opposite is usually true. Collectors prefer natural surfaces. A cleaned coin often loses much of its appeal because the original finish has been permanently altered. If you think you've found something unusual, resist the temptation to scrub it. Instead, hold it carefully by the edges and examine it under good lighting. Use a magnifying glass. Look closely at the date. Inspect the mint mark. Study Lincoln's portrait. Check the reverse for unusual lettering, die cracks, or striking abnormalities. Sometimes the smallest clue changes everything. Now let's address the biggest claim you've probably heard. Can a 1973 Lincoln penny really be worth millions of dollars? The internet is filled with sensational headlines suggesting ordinary pennies are worth unbelievable fortunes. While rare coins have indeed sold for astonishing amounts, those prices almost always involve extraordinary circumstances. The coin may feature an extremely rare mint error, a unique variety, remarkable preservation, or historical significance combined with fierce bidding competition. A typical circulated 1973 penny is generally worth only a small amount above face value, if that. But exceptional examples are another story. Beautiful uncirculated specimens with top grades have sold for hundreds and even thousands of dollars depending on certification, rarity, eye appeal, and market demand. Rare mint error examples can bring significantly higher prices when authenticated by respected grading services. That's why experts always say one thing: never judge a coin by its date alone. The tiny details determine the value. Imagine finding 2 pennies with identical dates. One goes into a vending machine. The other goes to auction for hundreds or even thousands of dollars because of a rare error or outstanding condition. That difference is almost invisible until you know exactly what to look for. This is why collectors remain passionate year after year. Every roll of pennies could contain a surprise. Every inherited coin jar might hide an overlooked treasure. Every estate sale, flea market, or family collection represents another opportunity. And sometimes those opportunities appear where nobody expects them. The next time you receive change at a grocery store, don't rush to spend every penny. Take a few seconds to examine the older copper coins. Look for the 1973 date. Check for the small d beneath the year. Study the surfaces carefully. You never know whether you're holding an ordinary cent or something much more exciting. Even longtime collectors still make amazing discoveries. That's what keeps the hobby alive. Every search carries hope. Every coin tells a story. Every unusual detail invites another closer look. Perhaps the most rewarding part isn't simply the money. It's the thrill of discovery. It's knowing that history, craftsmanship, and chance all combine to create something unique that survived for decades, waiting for someone observant enough to recognize it. So here's my question for you. Have you ever found an old Lincoln penny that looked different from the rest? Maybe it had strange lettering, an unusual color, or an odd shape. Take another look before you dismiss it. That tiny coin could reveal a story far more valuable than anyone expected. And if you enjoy uncovering hidden treasures hiding in everyday pocket change, make sure you stick around for more fascinating coin discoveries, because the next incredible find might already be sitting in your own collection, just waiting for you to notice it. Imagine reaching into your pocket for a single penny and discovering it could be worth more than a luxury mansion. It sounds impossible, but one tiny detail on a 1981 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark has made collectors stop in their tracks. And the biggest surprise is still ahead. Most people see a 1981 Lincoln penny as nothing more than spare change. They toss it into jars, leave it in cup holders, or spend it without a second thought. But hidden among billions of ordinary pennies are a handful of extraordinary coins that have shocked the collecting world. Some have sold for thousands of dollars. Others have reached astonishing prices because of rare combinations of condition, errors, and history. The question is simple. Could one of those valuable coins already be sitting in your home? Before you check your pocket change, you need to understand why the year 1981 is so fascinating. At first glance, these pennies all look nearly identical. Abraham Lincoln appears on the front, just as he had for decades. The Lincoln Memorial sits proudly on the reverse. Nothing seems unusual. That's exactly why so many valuable examples escape attention. Here's where everything changes. The 1981 penny was struck during an important period in American coin production. The United States Mint was preparing for one of the biggest changes in Lincoln cent history. Copper prices had been climbing, and producing pennies from mostly copper was becoming increasingly expensive. Only 1 year later, in 1982, the composition of the Lincoln cent changed dramatically. That makes 1981 one of the last years of the classic bronze Lincoln cents. Collectors love coins connected to important transitions. They're pieces of history frozen in metal. While millions of 1981 pennies were produced, only a tiny fraction survived in exceptional condition, and an even smaller number display rare mint errors that send their values soaring. Now pay close attention. When people hear no mint mark, they often think something is missing or unusual. In reality, a 1981 penny without a mint mark was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. During that year, Philadelphia pennies normally carried no mint mark at all. So simply having no mint mark doesn't automatically make your coin valuable. But don't stop looking. The real treasure comes from what else appears on that coin. Think about this. 2 pennies can look almost identical. One is worth 1 cent. The other might sell for hundreds, thousands, or even far more under extraordinary circumstances. The difference often comes down to details so tiny that most people never notice them. Let's start with condition. Imagine 2 identical 1981 pennies. One spent decades rattling around in pockets, cash registers, and vending machines. The surface is scratched, worn, and dull. The second was pulled from circulation immediately after it was made. Its color remains bright red, with nearly flawless surfaces and razor-sharp details. Collectors call that original color red. A fully red Lincoln cent is much scarcer than one that has turned brown over time. High-grade red examples are incredibly difficult to find because copper reacts with air, moisture, and fingerprints. Now here's something most people never realize. Professional grading companies examine coins under magnification. They assign numerical grades from 1 to 70. As the numbers climb, the value often rises dramatically. A jump of just 1 point near the top of the grading scale can mean the difference between hundreds of dollars and several $1,000s. That tiny difference has created bidding wars between serious collectors. But condition isn't the only thing that matters. Some of the most exciting 1981 pennies feature striking errors created during the minting process. These mistakes weren't supposed to happen, yet they slipped past quality control and entered circulation. Imagine discovering one of these. A doubled die error can make certain letters or numbers appear doubled. Under magnification, the date, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust" may show noticeable separation. Genuine double dies are highly collectible because they originate from the die itself rather than damage after the coin leaves the mint. Then there are off-center strikes. Instead of being perfectly aligned, the design is shifted noticeably toward one side. If enough of the date remains visible, collectors often pay impressive premiums depending on how dramatic the error appears. But the surprises don't end there. Broad strikes occur when a coin is struck without the retaining collar. The result is a coin that's wider than normal, with unusual edges. These dramatic mistakes instantly catch a collector's eye. Another fascinating possibility is a clipped planchet. Before a coin is struck, blank metal discs are punched from large sheets. Occasionally, the punching process overlaps, leaving a curved section missing from the finished blank. When struck, that missing piece becomes a permanent part of the coin's appearance. Now imagine finding one in your change. Collectors actively search for these unusual mistakes because each one tells the story of something that went wrong inside the mint. Here's another detail almost everyone overlooks. Look carefully at Lincoln's hair, cheek, beard, and bow tie. Weak strikes sometimes leave these areas lacking detail. On the other hand, exceptionally strong strikes reveal crisp features that make the coin stand out from ordinary examples. Small differences like these can have a surprisingly large effect on value. But there's another mystery hiding in plain sight. Many people clean old coins, believing they'll become more valuable. Unfortunately, the opposite is usually true. Harsh cleaning leaves tiny scratches that grading experts immediately recognize. A cleaned coin often sells for far less than an untouched example with natural surfaces. That means the dusty penny sitting quietly in an old collection could actually be worth more than the shiny one someone polished yesterday. Strange, isn't it? Now let's talk about the color of your coin. If your 1981 penny still glows with bright original copper red color after more than 4 decades, that's already a positive sign. If it has turned reddish brown or dark brown, it's much more common. Original mint luster is one of the first things experienced collectors notice. Here's another clue. Check the rim carefully. Is it complete and sharp? Does the lettering appear strong? Are there unusual cracks running across the design? Die cracks occur when minting dies begin to wear out. Some collectors enjoy pursuing these unusual varieties because every crack develops differently over time. Now you're probably wondering about the money. Most circulated 1981 Philadelphia pennies without errors are worth only face value or a few cents. That's the reality. But don't lose interest. Better condition examples often sell for several dollars. Certified mint state red coins can climb into the hundreds depending on grade. Then come the rare error coins. Double dies, dramatic off-center strikes, major clips, broad strikes, and other significant mint errors have sold for hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on rarity and condition. And here's where headlines begin. Whenever collectors hear claims about $1 million penny, excitement spreads quickly across the internet. The truth is that an ordinary 1981 no-mint mark penny is not automatically worth $1 million. However, under truly extraordinary circumstances, combining exceptional preservation, remarkable rarity, historical importance, and intense auction competition, elite coins from various series have reached astonishing prices. That's why so many people continue searching. Because nobody wants to be the person who accidentally spends an extraordinary coin. Imagine buying a cup of coffee with a penny later discovered to be worth thousands. It has happened before. Families have found valuable coins inside inherited collections. Children have discovered rare pieces in old piggy banks. Estate sales, garage sales, forgotten jars, and dusty dresser drawers have all produced unexpected treasures. Every discovery started the same way. Someone decided to look. So what should you inspect first? Check the date carefully. Confirm it's 1981. Look for the absence of a mint mark beneath the date. Examine every letter using a magnifying glass. Watch for doubling. Inspect the rim. Look for unusual shapes. Search for missing sections. Notice whether Lincoln's details are unusually sharp. Avoid cleaning the coin. If something appears unusual, compare it with verified examples and consider having it evaluated by a respected professional grading service. One decision could make all the difference. Here's another fascinating fact. Many collectors ignore modern coins because they assume only very old pennies carry value. That's a costly mistake. Coins from the late 20th century continue producing remarkable discoveries as new varieties are identified and collectors compete for the finest known examples. The hobby keeps evolving. What looked ordinary yesterday may attract tremendous attention tomorrow. That's one reason experienced collectors never stop learning. They understand that knowledge often creates opportunity. Now picture opening an old coin jar tonight. Hundreds of pennies spill across the table. Most are common. Some are worn. A few catch your eye. One still shines with bright red color. Another looks slightly off-center. One appears to have doubled letters. Suddenly, what seemed like loose change becomes an exciting treasure hunt. That's exactly why millions of Americans continue checking every penny they receive. Not because every coin is valuable, but because it only takes one extraordinary discovery to completely change the story. So before you spend another 1981 Abraham Lincoln penny with no mint mark, slow down and take a closer look. Examine every detail. Compare what you see. You never know whether you're holding an ordinary cent or a remarkable survivor that collectors have been searching for. And now I want to hear from you. Have you ever found an unusual penny in your pocket change, inherited collection, or coin jar? Tell your story in the comments because your discovery might inspire someone else to check their own coins tonight. If you enjoy uncovering hidden money secrets hiding in everyday change, make sure you subscribe and join us for more incredible coin discoveries. The next valuable coin could already be waiting in your pocket. What if the next penny you pull from an old jar could be worth more than a luxury mansion? It sounds impossible, but one tiny detail on a 1984 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin has turned ordinary pocket change into one of the most talked about treasures in modern coin collecting. Before you spend another penny, you need to know exactly what to look for, because the difference between 1 cent and a life-changing payday can be almost invisible. Most people never give a second thought to a 1984 Lincoln penny. Millions were made. They were used to buy candy, newspapers, and cups of coffee. They ended up in piggy banks, dresser drawers, and forgotten coffee cans in garages across America. But hidden among those everyday coins are a few extraordinary examples that have made collectors stop in their tracks. Here's the surprising part. The absence of a mint mark on a 1984 Lincoln penny does not automatically make it rare. In fact, pennies struck in Philadelphia that year normally have no mint mark at all. That means millions of them exist. So why are some collectors willing to pay thousands of dollars for one while others are worth only face value? The answer lies in the tiny details that almost everyone misses. Imagine cleaning out your grandparents' house. You find an old cookie tin filled with pennies collected over decades. Most people would carry it straight to the bank. But a careful collector would slowly examine every single coin because history has proven that incredible treasures sometimes hide in plain sight. Now imagine picking up a 1984 penny. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary. Abraham Lincoln faces to the right. The date reads 1984. There is no mint mark below the date. Everything seems normal. But then you look closer. Much closer. Suddenly, Lincoln's ear appears to have a second outline. His beard looks slightly doubled. Parts of the lettering don't seem perfectly sharp. That's when experienced collectors get excited. One of the most famous varieties from 1984 is the doubled ear error. During the die-making process, a mistake created extra doubling around Lincoln's ear. Instead of one clear ear, it appears as though Lincoln has two ears partially overlapping each other. Does not damage. Does not wear. It's a genuine mint error that happened before the coin was ever struck. This tiny feature transformed an ordinary cent into one of the most recognized error coins from the 1980s. And that's only the beginning. Many collectors spend years searching rolls of pennies hoping to find one hiding in circulation. Some have searched thousands of coins without success. Others have found one completely by accident while sorting spare change on a rainy afternoon. That possibility is what keeps the hunt alive. But here's something even more interesting. Not every doubled ear penny is worth the same amount. Condition changes everything. Think about two identical classic cars. One has been abandoned outside for decades. The other has been carefully preserved in a climate-controlled garage. Which one brings more money at auction? Coins work exactly the same way. A heavily worn 1984 doubled ear penny may still attract collectors, but a brilliant uncirculated example with sharp details and original mint luster can be worth dramatically more. Professional grading services evaluate coins using a numerical scale from 1 to 70. The closer a coin gets to 70, the better its condition. Tiny marks, scratches, weak strikes, or discoloration all affect the final grade. Here's where many people make a costly mistake. They find an unusual-looking penny and immediately clean it. Never do that. Cleaning removes original surfaces that collectors want to see. Even gentle polishing can lower a coin's value significantly. A cleaned coin often becomes far less desirable than one left exactly as it was found. Instead, handle it carefully by the edges and place it in a protective holder until it can be evaluated. Now let's talk about another hidden factor that can increase excitement around a 1984 penny. Errors don't always happen one at a time. Some coins display off-center strikes. Others show die cracks, die chips, or dramatic die breaks that collectors nickname cuds. Occasionally, coins leave the mint with weak strikes or unusual planchet problems that create completely unexpected appearances. Every genuine mint error tells a story. Some errors happened because equipment shifted slightly during production. Others resulted from damaged dies continuing to strike thousands of coins before workers noticed the problem. These production mistakes have become fascinating pieces of American minting history. Here's something that surprises many beginners. The coin doesn't have to be hundreds of years old to become valuable. Many people assume only ancient coins or early American coins are worth serious money. But modern errors prove that rarity matters more than age. A mistake made in 1984 can be far scarcer than a perfectly normal coin from the early 1900s. That's why knowledgeable collectors study every detail instead of judging a coin by its age alone. Now picture this. A father and daughter decide to search through $50 in penny rolls from their local bank. They expect nothing more than an afternoon of fun. Hours pass. Most pennies are common. Then one coin catches the daughter's eye. Lincoln's ear looks strange. She almost puts it back. Instead, they compare it with another 1984 penny. The difference is obvious. Months later, after authentication and grading, they discover they had found the famous doubled ear variety. Stories like this continue inspiring collectors across America. That's exactly why millions of pennies are still searched every year. But here's another twist. Counterfeiters know valuable error coins attract attention. Some people try creating fake doubling using engraving tools or chemicals. Others alter damaged coins, hoping inexperienced buyers won't notice. Fortunately, genuine double dies have very specific characteristics. The doubling appears naturally during striking and follows consistent patterns recognized by experts. Fake alterations usually leave rough surfaces, unnatural lines, or evidence of tampering. When significant money is involved, authentication becomes extremely important. Professional grading companies verify authenticity before assigning a grade. That certification often gives buyers confidence when expensive coins appear at auction. Now let's address the question everyone has been waiting for. How much could a remarkable 1984 no-mint mark Lincoln penny actually be worth? An ordinary circulated example usually remains worth only 1 cent, or perhaps a few cents to collectors. A bright, uncirculated coin with exceptional preservation might sell for several dollars. A genuine 1984 doubled ear variety can bring hundreds of dollars depending on its condition. Higher-grade certified examples have sold for thousands of dollars at major auctions because advanced collectors compete fiercely for the finest known pieces. Then come the headlines that capture everyone's imagination. From time to time, sensational stories appear online claiming a 1984 no-mint mark penny is worth $1 million. These headlines generate enormous excitement. The truth is more complicated. There is no widely accepted public auction record showing a standard 1984 no-mint mark Lincoln penny selling for $1 million. However, truly unique coins, extraordinary mint errors, or historically important rarities in the coin hobby have reached astonishing prices. That's why exaggerated headlines continue spreading across the internet. The real lesson isn't to believe every viral claim. It's to learn what actually creates value. Collectors pay premiums for genuine rarity, verified mint errors, outstanding condition, and certified authenticity. Knowledge is far more valuable than hype. Here's another clue that experienced collectors always remember. Look carefully at the date. Damage can sometimes make a 1984 penny resemble another year or hide important details. Strong lighting and a magnifying glass can reveal features invisible to the naked eye. Also examine the lettering. Check the word Liberty. Inspect "In God We Trust." Look closely at Lincoln's hair, beard, bow tie, and especially his ear. Those tiny details may reveal something extraordinary. And don't stop with just one coin. If you inherited an old collection, bought rolls from the bank, or saved pennies for decades, every coin deserves a careful look. Treasure hunters often say the biggest discovery is usually hiding where nobody thinks to search. That idea has proven true again and again. One forgotten jar. One dusty toolbox. One old dresser drawer. One family coin album. Each has the potential to hold a surprise. Even if you never discover a four-figure rarity, the excitement of searching connects you with American history in a unique way. Every penny passed through countless hands. It may have traveled across 50 states. It may have been carried by soldiers, teachers, mechanics, students, or grandparents. Each coin carries a story beyond its metal. And occasionally, one carries a secret that changes everything. So before you cash in your spare change, slow down. Grab a magnifying glass. Separate your 1984 no-mint mark pennies. Compare them carefully. Look for the famous doubled ear. Check for unusual mint errors. Protect anything that looks different. Because the next incredible discovery won't announce itself. It will quietly wait inside an ordinary handful of pennies until someone curious enough takes a second look. Now I'm curious about you. Have you ever searched through an old coin jar and found something unusual? Maybe you've spotted a strange-looking penny, inherited a family collection, or discovered an old coin that never seemed quite right. Let everyone know in the comments because your story might inspire someone else to check their own change tonight. And remember, hidden treasures don't always glitter like gold or sparkle like diamonds. Sometimes they look exactly like the penny sitting unnoticed in your pocket right now. If you enjoy uncovering forgotten fortunes, surprising coin errors, and the real stories behind America's most valuable pocket change, make sure you stay with us because the next incredible discovery could be even closer than you think. Have you ever tossed a 1990 Lincoln penny into a jar without a second thought? Stop right there, because one tiny detail on that ordinary-looking coin could mean the difference between 1 cent and a payday that collectors dream about. Some rare 1990 Lincoln cents have sold for thousands of dollars, and the rarest error examples have sparked incredible excitement whenever they appear. Before you spend another penny, you need to know exactly what to look for. Most people see a brown penny and move on. Collectors see a mystery waiting to be solved. That's what makes coin hunting so exciting. Every handful of pocket change could hide a surprise that has been overlooked for years. The truth is that millions of Americans have old coins sitting in jars, drawers, piggy banks, and forgotten coffee cans. Many have never been checked carefully. Now imagine finding a coin that everyone else ignored, only to discover it has a rare feature that makes collectors compete to own it. That possibility is exactly why people across the country continue searching through everyday change. The 1990 D Lincoln cent was struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark below the date. More than 4 billion of these pennies were produced. That sounds like far too many for any of them to be valuable. And for most examples, that's true. A heavily worn 1990 D penny is usually worth only 1 cent. But here's where everything changes. When billions of coins are produced, even tiny mistakes can create extremely rare varieties. Those mistakes are what collectors chase. A small error during the minting process can transform an ordinary coin into something extraordinary. Think about it this way. If a factory produces billions of identical products, even one tiny manufacturing mistake can become incredibly scarce. The same thing happens with coins. The first thing you should examine is the overall condition. This may sound boring, but it is often the biggest factor in determining value. A coin that looks almost exactly the way it did when it left the mint decades ago is far more desirable than one that has spent years bouncing around in pockets and cash registers. Professional collectors call these high-grade coins mint state examples. They still show original luster, crisp details, and very little wear. Even common coins become much more valuable when preserved in exceptional condition. Now here's something many people never notice. Look closely at Lincoln's portrait. Study his hair, his beard, and the bow tie. Then inspect the lettering around the coin. If everything appears unusually sharp and clean, you might have a premium quality strike that collectors appreciate. But don't stop there. Some of the most valuable 1990 D pennies are valuable because of mint errors. Imagine two dies coming together with incredible force hundreds of times every minute. If something shifts even slightly, unusual coins can be created before the problem is discovered. One popular error is the off-center strike. Instead of the design appearing perfectly centered, part of the image may be missing while a blank area appears along the edge. Depending on how dramatic the shift is, these coins can become very collectible. Another fascinating error is the broad strike. This happens when the retaining collar fails to hold the coin properly during striking. The result is a penny that looks wider than normal with unusual edges. Then there are clipped planchets. Before the coin is struck, blank metal discs are punched from large sheets. Occasionally, one blank overlaps another, leaving a curved piece missing. The finished coin carries that unusual shape forever. Collectors also search for die cracks. These appear as raised lines running across parts of the design. As the dies wear out, tiny cracks develop. Every coin struck afterward carries those raised lines like fingerprints from the damaged die. Here's something even more exciting. Sometimes grease fills parts of the die, preventing certain details from striking correctly. The result can be missing letters, weak numbers, or incomplete designs. These are called filled die errors, and some attract strong collector interest. Now you may be wondering whether one tiny mistake can really matter that much. The answer is absolutely yes. History has shown that collectors love unusual coins because no two errors are exactly alike. The more dramatic and unusual the error, the greater the demand often becomes. But there's another detail that surprises beginners. Color matters. Lincoln cents are generally classified as brown, red-brown, or red. A bright red penny that has maintained its original mint color for decades is much scarcer than one that has turned dark brown through oxidation. High-grade red examples often command significant premiums compared to ordinary circulated coins. Imagine two identical pennies made on the same day. One spends 30 years inside a coin roll stored safely away. The other spends decades passing through thousands of hands. Their values today may be completely different. That's why collectors often say condition is king. Now let's talk about doubling. Although major double die varieties for the 1990 decent are not common, always inspect the date, the letters, and the mint mark under magnification. True doubling created during die production differs from ordinary machine doubling. Real double dies show distinct separation in the design and can become highly desirable when discovered. Here's another tip many people overlook. Never clean your coin. It sounds logical to polish an old penny before showing it to a dealer. Unfortunately, cleaning almost always lowers collector value. Tiny scratches left behind by polishing are easy for experienced graders to detect. A dirty original coin is usually worth more than a shiny cleaned one. That surprises almost everyone. Now picture this. You're searching through an old family coin collection inherited from a grandparent. Most coins look ordinary until one 1990 penny catches your eye. It still glows with original red color. Every detail appears razor sharp. Under magnification, you notice an unusual striking error. Suddenly, that 1-cent coin deserves much closer attention. Professional grading services play an important role here. Companies that authenticate and grade coins provide an independent opinion about authenticity, condition, and preservation. Their grading standards help buyers and sellers agree on value. Without professional grading, estimating the worth of a rare coin becomes much more difficult. Now comes the question everyone has been waiting for. Is the 1990 Lincoln penny really worth $1 million? The reality is more complicated. Most 1990 pennies are worth only face value. High-grade examples with beautiful original surfaces can sell for much more, especially if they receive top mint state grades. Rare error coins may sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on the type of error, rarity, eye appeal, and collector demand. Claims that an ordinary 1990 Lincoln penny is automatically worth $1 million are not supported by verified auction records. Extraordinary values require extraordinary rarity, exceptional condition, or unique characteristics. That doesn't make your search any less exciting. Every year collectors discover overlooked coins inside old collections, bankrolls, estate sales, and forgotten jars of change. The next amazing discovery could happen anywhere. Before spending any 1990 penny, examine the date carefully. Look at the mint mark. Study the lettering. Check for doubling, missing details, off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, broad strikes, unusual color, and exceptional preservation. Use a magnifying glass or coin loop with good lighting. Compare your coin with normal examples. Small differences often tell the biggest stories. And remember, patience wins. Most valuable discoveries aren't made in 5 minutes. They're made by people willing to slow down and pay attention to details everyone else ignores. That's one reason coin collecting remains one of America's favorite hobbies. It combines history, treasure hunting, mystery, and the thrill of discovering hidden value in everyday objects. Think about how many pennies pass through your hands every year. Hundreds. Maybe thousands. How many have you actually inspected? Probably very few. Somewhere tonight, another person will unknowingly spend a coin that a collector would happily buy. The difference isn't luck. It's knowledge. Now it's your turn. Have you ever found an unusual penny with an error or strange feature? Go check your change, your old jars, your dresser drawers, and those forgotten boxes in the closet. You never know what has been waiting there for decades. And if this video helped you see the hidden potential inside ordinary pocket change, stick around for more incredible coin discoveries, surprising auction stories, and valuable secrets that could help you spot the next overlooked treasure before anyone else does. Have you ever tossed a penny into a jar without even looking at it? What if one of those ordinary-looking pennies could be worth far more than a brand-new luxury car? Believe it or not, one particular 1993 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark has captured the attention of collectors across America, and the tiny details on that coin can make an unbelievable difference. Before you spend another penny, you might want to hear this story. Most people think every 1993 penny is worth exactly 1 cent. That's understandable because billions of them were made. They passed through grocery stores, gas stations, vending machines, and cash registers every single day. They looked ordinary. They felt ordinary. But hidden among those billions are a few extraordinary coins that have become the dream of collectors. Now here's where things get interesting. When people hear that a penny is worth a fortune, they often imagine it must be made of gold or silver. That's not the case. The real value comes from rarity, condition, and tiny production mistakes that happened in just the right way. The Philadelphia Mint struck millions of Lincoln cents in 1993. Coins produced there do not carry a mint mark, which means a missing mint mark on a normal 1993 Philadelphia penny is completely normal. But don't stop watching because that isn't the whole story. Some no-mint mark pennies have characteristics that separate them from millions of others. Imagine opening an old coffee can filled with coins collected by your grandparents. Most people would dump them into a coin machine without another thought. A collector, however, would examine every single penny. Why? Because history has shown that treasures have been hiding in everyday change for decades. One family discovered valuable coins while cleaning out an attic. Another collector found a rare error coin inside a bankroll. Stories like these continue to inspire people because valuable discoveries really do happen. But what exactly should you be looking for? Start with the date. Make sure it says 1993. Then look carefully below the date. If there is no mint mark, you've confirmed it was struck in Philadelphia. That alone doesn't make it rare, but it does mean you're looking at the correct starting point. Now comes the part that many people completely miss. Take a close look at Lincoln's portrait. Is the strike unusually sharp? Can you clearly see fine details in his hair and beard? Premium strikes often attract stronger collector interest, especially when paired with exceptional preservation. Next, examine the lettering. The words "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and 1 cent should appear crisp and bold. If you notice doubling on the letters or numbers, don't ignore it. Some forms of doubling are caused during the minting process and can significantly increase collector demand. Here's something surprising. Not every doubled-looking coin is actually valuable. Sometimes worn dies or machine doubling create an illusion. True doubled dies are different. That's why experienced collectors often use magnification before making any conclusions. Now let's talk about condition. Condition can completely transform a coin's value. A worn penny that's been in circulation for decades may only be worth face value. But a coin preserved in nearly perfect condition can command dramatically higher prices. Professional grading companies use a detailed scale ranging from poor to mint state 70. The closer a coin gets to a flawless mint state grade, the more collectors compete to own it. Think about that for a second. 2 pennies made on the same day, from the same mint, can have completely different values simply because one remained untouched while the other spent years bouncing around in pockets. That's why serious collectors handle coins carefully. Even fingerprints can reduce value over time. But condition isn't the only thing that matters. Mint errors are where the real excitement begins. During production, thousands of coins are struck every minute. Occasionally, something unexpected happens. A die shifts. A planchet isn't centered correctly. A crack develops. A design element appears doubled. Most of these mistakes are caught before coins leave the mint. Every once in a while, though, an unusual error escapes into circulation. Those escaped errors become collector legends. One fascinating possibility involves off-center strikes. Instead of the design appearing perfectly centered, part of it shifts toward the edge, leaving a blank crescent-shaped area. Depending on how dramatic the shift is and whether the date remains visible, these coins can become highly collectible. Another possibility is a broad strike error. Without the retaining collar working correctly, the coin spreads outward during striking, creating an unusual appearance that immediately catches a collector's eye. Then there are die cracks. As dies wear out, tiny cracks may develop. Those cracks transfer onto the coin as raised lines. Some are minor, while others become dramatic enough to earn nicknames among collectors. Here's another detail that often surprises beginners. Sometimes small pieces of a die break away, creating raised blobs or missing design elements on the finished coin. These are known as die chips or cut errors, and certain examples receive significant attention from specialists. Now imagine finding several of these characteristics on the same coin. That's when excitement really starts building. Collectors love unusual combinations because they become much harder to find. Let's pause for a moment. If you have a jar of old pennies sitting somewhere in your house, how many have you actually inspected? 5? 10? Maybe none at all? That forgotten jar could contain coins collected over several generations. The odds may be small, but remarkable discoveries continue happening because most people never look. Now let's discuss another factor that drives prices higher. Color. Copper coins are often described using 3 color categories: brown, red-brown, and red. A fully original red coin with bright mint luster is much scarcer after decades of circulation. Collectors often pay substantial premiums for vibrant original color, especially in higher mint state grades. The bright glow you see on a freshly minted copper coin slowly changes over time as the metal reacts with its environment. Coins that somehow avoid this natural toning become increasingly desirable. Storage makes a huge difference. Coins protected from moisture, fingerprints, and harsh environments usually survive much better than those left loose in drawers or jars. Now here's where the mystery deepens. You may have heard stories claiming that a 1993 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is worth $1 million. Those headlines certainly grab attention. But the truth requires a little more explanation. An ordinary circulated 1993 Philadelphia penny is generally worth face value. A brilliant uncirculated example with exceptional preservation can be worth considerably more to collectors. Rare error varieties or superb certified examples may sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on their rarity, eye appeal, and demand. The biggest auction prices are almost always tied to extraordinary combinations of rarity, elite condition, or significant mint errors. Not simply because the coin lacks a mint mark. That's an important distinction many videos leave out. Still, here's the exciting part. Until a coin is carefully examined by an expert, nobody knows exactly what it might be. Every year collectors submit coins expecting little, only to receive surprising results after professional grading. Imagine discovering your penny has a rare error that escaped everyone's attention for decades. Imagine receiving confirmation that your coin belongs among the finest known examples. Moments like that keep collectors searching year after year. Another mistake people make is cleaning old coins. Please don't do it. Cleaning almost always reduces collector value because it leaves tiny scratches and removes original surfaces that experts want to see. Even if a coin looks dirty, leave it exactly as it is until a professional examines it. Natural originality is almost always preferred. Another common mistake? Assuming damaged coins are rare errors. Scratches, dents, corrosion, and environmental damage usually happen after the coin leaves the mint. Those problems typically lower value instead of increasing it. Learning the difference between mint-made errors and everyday damage is one of the most valuable skills any collector can develop. Now imagine you're checking your own 1993 penny. Look closely under bright lighting. Use a magnifying glass or coin loupe. Inspect the date. Check the lettering. Study Lincoln's portrait. Look around the rim. Examine both sides carefully. Search for unusual doubling, missing details, cracks, off-center designs, or anything that looks different from a normal penny. Compare it with another 1993 penny if possible. Sometimes the differences become much easier to spot when two coins sit side by side. If something truly stands out, resist the temptation to sell it immediately. Research similar certified examples. Consult experienced collectors. Consider professional authentication if the coin appears genuinely unusual or exceptionally well preserved. Authentication provides confidence for both buyers and sellers. That's one reason certified coins often attract stronger bids at auction. Here's something fascinating. Many of today's valuable collectibles were once ignored. People spent them. Children played with them. Banks rolled them. Decades later, collectors realized how special certain examples actually were. History has a funny way of rewarding patience. So the next time someone hands you a penny in change, don't dismiss it. Take one extra second. That tiny coin has traveled through countless hands, witnessed decades of American history, and may still have secrets waiting to be discovered. Now I'm curious. Have you ever searched through an old piggy bank, inherited coin collection, or forgotten jar of change and found something unusual? Let everyone know in the comments because your story might inspire someone else to take a closer look at their own coins. And remember, the most valuable discoveries often begin with ordinary pocket change that everyone else overlooked. Keep checking those pennies, keep learning about rare varieties, and keep your eyes open because the next incredible discovery could already be sitting in your home, waiting for someone curious enough to notice it. If you enjoy uncovering hidden money hiding in plain sight, subscribe and join us for more amazing coin stories, surprising discoveries, and the fascinating history behind America's most valuable pocket change. Imagine reaching into your pocket for a single penny, only to discover that tiny 1-cent coin could be worth far more than a brand new luxury home. It sounds impossible, but for a handful of lucky collectors, one ordinary-looking 2005 Abraham Lincoln penny without a mint mark has turned into the kind of coin that everyone dreams of finding. And before you spend another penny, you need to know exactly what makes one of these coins so special. Because one tiny detail can mean the difference between 1 cent and a life-changing payday. Most people see a 2005 Lincoln penny and think it's nothing more than spare change. Millions of these coins pass through cash registers, vending machines, and piggy banks all across America. They were tossed into jars, dropped under couch cushions, and forgotten in dresser drawers. But hidden among those millions are a few coins that collectors search for every single day. Here's where the story gets interesting. The 2005 Lincoln cent with no mint mark wasn't made by accident. In fact, no mint mark simply means the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. That was completely normal. So if every Philadelphia penny has no mint mark, why would anyone pay thousands, or even dream about paying hundreds of thousands, for one? The answer isn't the missing mint mark. It's everything else. And that's where so many people make a costly mistake. Collectors don't chase ordinary coins. They chase extraordinary examples, rare errors, unusual varieties, and coins preserved in incredible condition. That's exactly why you should never assume your 2005 penny is only worth 1 cent until you've examined it carefully. Think about this. How many times have you dumped a handful of pennies into a Coinstar machine without looking at them? How many have you spent at a gas station without giving them a second glance? There's a good chance you've handled hundreds of 2005 pennies without realizing that one unusual detail could completely change the value. Now let's look closer. The front of the coin features Abraham Lincoln, one of America's most recognizable presidents. The familiar portrait had already been used for decades by 2005, making the penny instantly recognizable. Flip it over and you'll find the Lincoln Memorial design, the final years of a reverse that had been in use since 1959 before changing a few years later. Nothing unusual so far. But now comes the mystery. Some 2005 pennies were struck with errors during production. These mistakes happen because coin presses run at incredible speeds, producing thousands of coins every hour. When something goes wrong, even for a fraction of a second, the result can be a coin unlike any other. And collectors love mistakes. One of the most valuable errors is a dramatic off-center strike. Instead of the design appearing perfectly in the middle, part of the image is missing because the blank planchet wasn't positioned correctly. Depending on how dramatic the error is and whether the date remains visible, values can climb from hundreds to several $1,000s. But that's only the beginning. Another fascinating error involves broad strikes. These occur when the collar die fails to hold the coin in place. Instead of having its normal raised edge, the penny spreads outward, becoming wider than normal. Even experienced collectors get excited when they discover a genuine broad strike from modern years like 2005. Now here's something even more surprising. Some collectors have found doubled features on certain Lincoln cents. This isn't the famous double die variety from earlier decades, but minor doubling caused during production can still attract attention, especially when it's dramatic enough to be seen without magnification. Then there are die cracks. At first glance, they look like random raised lines crossing the surface. Most people think the coin is damaged. They're wrong. These raised lines actually formed because the die itself cracked while striking coins. Every coin struck afterward carried that same crack until the die was replaced. Some dramatic die cracks become famous among collectors and significantly increase interest. But don't stop looking there. Missing letters, weak strikes, clipped planchets, die chips, cuds, and other unusual mint errors have all been found on Lincoln cents over the years. Everyone tells a different story about what happened inside the mint. Now imagine discovering one in your pocket change. That's exactly why experienced collectors inspect every coin instead of rushing through a pile. Here's another detail many beginners overlook. Condition matters almost as much as rarity. A worn 2005 penny with no special features usually remains worth just 1 cent. But a flawless coin that somehow escapes circulation can become surprisingly valuable, especially if it earns a high grade from a professional grading service. Think about the journey of an ordinary penny. Most are dropped, scratched, stepped on, carried in pockets with keys, and exposed to dirt and moisture. Very few survive in nearly perfect condition. That's why certified mint state examples often sell for far more than circulated ones. Now let's add another twist. Many people online have seen headlines claiming a 2005 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is worth $1 million. That certainly gets attention. But here's the truth every collector should understand. There is no widely recognized auction record showing an ordinary 2005 Philadelphia Lincoln cent selling for $1 million simply because it lacks a mint mark. Instead, extraordinary prices come from extraordinary circumstances. The coin might have an incredibly rare mint error. It might be one of the finest examples ever certified. It might have a combination of rare characteristics almost never seen together. Or the claim could simply be exaggerated internet clickbait. That's why knowledge is your greatest tool. Instead of chasing unrealistic headlines, learn what truly creates value. Now ask yourself something. If you found an unusual-looking 2005 penny today, would you know what to check first? Start with the date. Confirm it says 2005. Next, look under the date. If there's no mint mark, it came from Philadelphia. Now inspect every part of the coin under bright lighting. Do you notice doubling? Is the design centered? Are letters missing? Does the edge look unusually wide? Do you see raised lines that might be die cracks? Is there an odd shape suggesting a clipped planchet? Every tiny detail matters. Here's another surprise. Never clean an old coin. This is one of the biggest mistakes beginners make. A shiny cleaned coin may look better to the eye, but collectors usually prefer original surfaces. Cleaning often leaves microscopic scratches that permanently reduce value. Imagine taking what could have been a valuable collectible and cutting its price in half with a simple polishing cloth. It's heartbreaking. Professional collectors avoid cleaning because originality is everything. Now let's talk about storage. If you believe you found an unusual 2005 Lincoln penny, don't toss it back into your change jar. Hold it only by the edges. Place it inside a protective holder. Keep it away from moisture and extreme temperatures. That simple habit could preserve its value for years. Here's something else worth knowing. The Lincoln cent has become one of America's most collected coins. Millions of people search through penny rolls from banks every year hoping to uncover hidden treasures. Most searches produce ordinary coins. But every now and then, Someone finds something incredible. That's what keeps collectors coming back. The excitement isn't just about money. It's about the possibility. Every unopened roll feels like a mystery waiting to be solved. Every handful of change becomes another treasure hunt. And that's exactly why stories about valuable pennies spread so quickly across the internet. Because everyone wonders, what if I'm next? Now imagine opening an old coffee can that belonged to your grandparents. Inside are hundreds of pennies collected over decades. Would you dump them into a counting machine? Or would you spend an evening examining every single coin? Experienced collectors already know the answer. One overlooked error could make the entire search worthwhile. Here's another fascinating fact. Modern coins aren't immune to valuable mistakes. Even with advanced technology, minting errors still happen. Machines wear down, dies crack, planchets feed incorrectly. Tiny mechanical problems create unique coins that shouldn't exist. And those unexpected mistakes often become the stars of future collections. The market for rare error coins continues to attract collectors from across the country because every genuine error is a permanent snapshot of something unusual that happened during production. No two collecting journeys are exactly alike. Some people inherit rare coins. Others discover them in pocket change. Some buy them at garage sales for almost nothing. Others find them mixed into inherited jars that sat untouched for decades. That's the magic of coin collecting. Treasure can appear almost anywhere. So before you spend another penny, take 60 seconds and inspect it carefully. Especially if it's a 2005 Lincoln cent without a mint mark. Look beyond the obvious. Search for unusual errors. Pay attention to condition. Protect anything that looks different. If you believe you've discovered something truly unusual, compare it with trusted reference photos and consider having it examined by a reputable coin dealer or professional grading service before making any decisions. Because while most 2005 no-mint mark pennies remain worth only 1 cent, the rare exceptions remind us why collectors never stop looking. Sometimes history hides inside the smallest objects. Sometimes incredible stories begin with ordinary pocket change. And sometimes the coin everyone else ignores becomes the one everyone wishes they had kept. So now the next move belongs to you. Go check your change jar. Look through that old coin collection. Search the forgotten drawer in your kitchen. You never know which penny could surprise you. And if you enjoy uncovering hidden money hiding in everyday coins, make sure you stay with us, because the next incredible coin story might already be sitting quietly in your own pocket, waiting for the moment someone finally notices its secret. Stop what you're doing before you spend another penny. Because one ordinary-looking 2006 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark has shocked collectors by selling for astonishing amounts. Most people would never notice the tiny details that separate a common 1-cent coin from one that could be worth thousands of dollars. The biggest surprise is that one of those pennies could already be sitting in your pocket, your change jar, or an old coffee can in the garage. Think about it for a second. How many pennies have you ignored this week? How many have ended up in a tip jar, a vending machine, or the bottom of your car's cup holder? Now imagine learning that one of those forgotten coins had a feature so rare that collectors were willing to pay far more than 1 cent to own it. It sounds unbelievable, but that's exactly why experienced coin hunters inspect every Lincoln cent they find. The 2006 Lincoln penny doesn't look unusual at first glance. It carries the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. Millions upon millions were struck for everyday circulation, which makes most people believe they're all practically worthless. That's where the story becomes interesting. When collectors hear the words, no mint mark, many beginners assume the coin is automatically rare. That's actually not true. On a 2006 Lincoln cent, no mint mark simply means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. Philadelphia made hundreds of millions of these coins that year, so an ordinary example is only worth 1 cent in circulation. But don't click away yet. Because while most 2006 Philadelphia pennies are common, a tiny number escaped the mint with unusual errors or exceptional quality that completely changed their value. Those are the coins collectors spend years searching for, and they're the reason people carefully examine every single penny before spending it. Here's something most people never realize. A coin doesn't have to be made of gold or silver to become valuable. Sometimes a simple manufacturing mistake creates a collectible treasure. A tiny error lasting only a fraction of a second inside the mint can transform an everyday coin into one that collectors fight over. Imagine thousands of metal blanks racing through giant presses every hour. Everything has to happen perfectly, but machines wear down. Dies crack, metal shifts, pressure changes. Alignment moves ever so slightly. When that happens, strange and fascinating errors can appear. One of the first things experts look for is a dramatic off-center strike. Instead of the design appearing perfectly centered, part of the image is missing because the blank wasn't positioned correctly when it was struck. The farther off-center the strike is while still showing the date, the more desirable the coin usually becomes. But that's only the beginning. Another exciting possibility is a broad strike error. Without the retaining collar doing its job correctly, the coin spreads wider than normal during striking. It ends up with an unusual shape that immediately catches the eye of experienced collectors. Then there are die cracks. At first they may look like random raised lines crossing the surface, but they're actually evidence that the steel die itself began to crack after striking thousands upon thousands of coins. Some die cracks are minor. Others grow into dramatic patterns that make a coin highly collectible. Now here's where things get even more interesting. Have you ever heard of a cud error? That's when a piece of the die breaks away completely, leaving a large raised blob of metal on the finished coin. These dramatic mint mistakes are much scarcer than ordinary die cracks and can command impressive prices depending on their size and location. Another variety collectors search for is a double die. This isn't the same as a coin that simply looks blurry. A genuine double die occurs during the die-making process, creating noticeable doubling on letters, numbers, or parts of Lincoln's portrait. Under magnification, the separation between the images becomes much easier to see. Many beginners mistake machine doubling for a double die. Machine doubling is common and usually adds little value. Learning the difference can save you from disappointment and help you recognize a truly valuable discovery. Now let's talk about condition, because this is where fortunes can change. Suppose you have an ordinary 2006 no-mint mark penny with no errors. If it's heavily worn from years of circulation, it's generally worth face value. But what if it looks like it was made yesterday? What if every detail is razor sharp, every line is crisp, and the original bright red color remains untouched? Collectors call these red mint state coins, and they're dramatically harder to find than most people expect. Copper-plated zinc scents easily develop spots, fingerprints, scratches, and discoloration. Simply bouncing around in pockets for a few days can reduce their appeal. That's why pristine examples surviving in nearly perfect condition become surprisingly valuable. Professional grading companies examine coins under powerful lighting and magnification. They assign numerical grades on a 70-point scale. While the differences between grades may appear tiny, the difference in value can be enormous. For example, a mint state 63 coin may be attractive. A mint state 65 coin is even nicer. But once you enter the elite grades like MS67, MS68 or higher, the population becomes incredibly small. Collectors competing for the very finest known examples often drive auction prices dramatically higher. Here's something that surprises many new collectors. The highest prices reported for modern Lincoln cents usually aren't paid simply because of the year. They're paid because the coin combines outstanding preservation with exceptional rarity, unusual mint errors, or a unique certified status. That's what separates an ordinary penny from one that appears in major auctions. You've probably seen headlines claiming a certain penny is worth $1 million. Those headlines create excitement, but it's important to understand the full story. A typical 2006 no-mint mark Lincoln cent is not worth millions of dollars. Extraordinary values are associated with exceptionally rare error coins, unique discoveries, or top population certified examples that attract intense competition among serious collectors. The average coin found in circulation won't reach those prices. That doesn't mean searching is a waste of time. Far from it. People have discovered valuable coins in pocket change, inherited collections, estate sales, bank rolls, and forgotten jars sitting on shelves for decades. Every remarkable discovery started with someone deciding to look a little closer instead of assuming every penny was ordinary. So what should you inspect first? Start with the date. Make sure it's 2006. Next, check for the missing mint mark below the date. Remember, no mint mark simply indicates Philadelphia, but you'll need that information while researching possible varieties. Then examine the edges of the lettering. Are the letters unusually thick? Do they appear doubled? Is anything missing? Look closely at Lincoln's face. Search for unusual raised lines, cracks, or strange blobs of metal. Turn the coin over and inspect the Lincoln Memorial. Are the columns complete? Is the design centered? Do you notice anything that looks dramatically different from other pennies? Don't forget the color. Bright, original red coins are generally more desirable than brown examples if everything else is equal. However, never clean a coin hoping to improve its appearance. Cleaning almost always lowers collector value because it damages the original surface. Here's another mistake many people make. They store coins loosely in drawers where they rub against each other. Even tiny scratches can reduce a coin's grade. If you believe you've found something unusual, place it carefully in a protective holder and avoid touching the surfaces with your fingers. Now imagine finding a strange-looking 2006 penny that appears different from every other one you own. Instead of spending it, you compare it with verified examples online, study reputable error references, and eventually submit it for professional grading. Weeks later, the results arrive, confirming it's a genuine mint error in outstanding condition. That single decision could completely change the story of a coin everyone else overlooked. Stories like these are exactly why coin collecting continues to grow across America. It's part history lesson, part treasure hunt, and part detective work. Every coin tells a story about the moment it was created, and every unusual variety reminds us that even the most carefully controlled manufacturing process isn't perfect. Perhaps the greatest thrill isn't even the money. It's the moment you realize you've spotted something that millions of other people missed. The next time someone hands you change at a grocery store, don't immediately toss those pennies aside. Take a few extra seconds. Flip them over. Compare the details. Look for anything unusual. You never know when an ordinary-looking cent could become the highlight of your collection. So now I have a question for you. Have you ever found a coin that looked different from all the others? Or do you have a jar of old pennies waiting to be searched? Let everyone know, because your discovery might inspire someone else to check their own collection before it's too late. And remember, while most 2006 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies are worth only face value, the rare exceptions prove that incredible treasures sometimes hide in the smallest places. Keep searching, keep learning, and keep every interesting coin you find, because the next amazing discovery could be only one penny away. If you enjoy uncovering hidden money secrets hiding in everyday pocket change, be sure to subscribe so you never miss the next incredible coin that could be worth far more than anyone ever imagined. Have you ever looked at a 2007 Abraham Lincoln penny and thought, it's only 1 cent? That tiny coin could change the way you look at your pocket change forever, because one unusual example has stunned collectors with an eye-popping value that most people never imagined possible. Before you spend another penny, you need to hear this story. Millions of Americans carry Lincoln pennies every day without giving them a second glance. They pile up in jars, disappear under couch cushions, sit forgotten in old coffee cans, and get tossed into change trays at grocery stores. But every once in a while, an ordinary-looking penny turns into an extraordinary discovery. And today we're talking about one of the most searched modern coins among collectors, the 2007 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark. Now, here's something that surprises many people right away. A missing mint mark on a 2007 Lincoln penny does not automatically make it rare. In fact, most 2007 pennies struck in Philadelphia were intentionally made without a mint mark. That's completely normal. But don't stop watching yet, because this is where the real mystery begins. The value isn't about the missing mint mark alone. It's about the tiny details that most people never notice. Those details can mean the difference between 1 cent and a coin that collectors are willing to pay thousands, or in extremely rare situations, even life-changing amounts for. Imagine finding a penny in an old piggy bank. It looks perfectly ordinary. You almost spend it on a cup of coffee. Then someone notices one tiny feature under magnification. Suddenly, that coin isn't pocket change anymore. It's headed to a professional grading company and eventually into a major auction. Stories like this happen more often than you think. The 2007 Lincoln cent was struck during the final years of the Lincoln Memorial design, a design Americans had seen since 1959. Billions of these coins were produced. Because so many exist, most people assume none of them are worth saving. That's exactly why valuable examples often stay hidden. People ignore them. Collectors know better. The first thing you should know is that condition matters more than almost anything else. A worn penny that has spent years in circulation usually isn't worth much. But a coin that somehow escaped circulation and remained nearly perfect can become dramatically more valuable. Think about it this way. Would you rather buy a 50-year-old baseball card with creases and stains, or one that looks like it came straight from the factory yesterday? Coins work the same way. Professional grading companies examine every tiny detail. They study the strike, the color, the luster, the surface preservation, and even microscopic marks left during production. Just one small difference in grade can multiply the value several times over. But condition isn't the only secret. Some 2007 pennies contain fascinating mint errors. And that's where collectors really start paying attention. Picture a freshly made coin moving through high-speed machinery. Everything has to happen perfectly. The metal blank must be positioned correctly. The dies must strike with tremendous pressure. Every step must be flawless. When something goes wrong, history can be created. One exciting error is an off-center strike. Instead of the design appearing perfectly centered, part of it shifts toward one side. Depending on how dramatic the shift is and whether the date remains visible, these coins can become highly collectible. Then there are broad strikes. Without the retaining collar holding the coin in place, the metal spreads wider than normal during striking. The result is a coin that immediately catches the eye. But that's only the beginning. Collectors also search for die cracks. These appear as raised lines caused by cracks developing in the coin die itself. Some are tiny. Others become large enough to create dramatic patterns across the coin. Next come die chips. These small defects can leave raised blobs of metal in unusual locations. While many people overlook them, experienced collectors often recognize them instantly. Now here's something even more exciting. Some coins display doubled features. Letters may appear thicker than normal. Numbers might seem slightly doubled. Certain design elements may look like they're shadowed. Not every doubled appearance is valuable. Many are simply caused by mechanical issues after striking. But genuine double die varieties can become famous in the collecting world. That's why careful examination matters. And here's where many people make a costly mistake. They clean their coins. Never do that. A shiny cleaned penny often loses much of its collector appeal because cleaning creates tiny scratches and removes the original surface that experts want to see. Ironically, a naturally toned coin with decades of aging can be worth far more than one someone tried to polish. Now let's talk about color. Modern copper-plated zinc pennies are graded by color as well. Collectors use three basic descriptions: brown, red-brown, and red. A full original red coin with blazing mint luster is usually much scarcer than one that has turned brown over time. That brilliant original color can significantly increase value when combined with an exceptional grade. But here's another twist. Strike quality matters too. Some 2007 pennies have incredibly sharp details. Others show weaker strikes because of worn dies or production differences. Collectors love coins with crisp lettering, strong details in Lincoln's portrait, and complete design features. Every tiny advantage adds another piece to the puzzle. Now imagine two people finding identical-looking pennies. One spends theirs. The other sends it to be professionally graded. Weeks later, the grading results come back. One coin earns an ordinary grade. The other receives an elite mint state grade with beautiful original color. The difference in market value can be astonishing. This is why experienced collectors examine every single coin instead of assuming they're all the same. Now let's address the question everyone has been waiting for. Can a 2007 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny really be worth $1 million? Here's the truth. No standard 2007 Philadelphia penny is known to be worth $1 million simply because it lacks a mint mark. Claims like that often spread online without evidence. However, extraordinary coins can achieve extraordinary prices under the right circumstances. Imagine a coin with an extremely rare mint error never before documented. Add an almost flawless preservation grade. Add intense competition between wealthy collectors. Add historical importance. That's when auction records can surprise everyone. The highest prices in coin collecting usually come from a combination of rarity, condition, demand, and uniqueness, not from age alone. That's an important lesson many beginners never learn. Some people search only old coins. Smart collectors search every coin. Modern coins continue producing remarkable discoveries because billions were made, and quality control mistakes occasionally escaped into circulation. What if one of those mistakes ended up in your change? Would you recognize it? Or would it disappear into a vending machine forever? That's why thousands of collectors inspect every penny they receive. Some use magnifying glasses. Others use digital microscopes. Many search bank rolls one coin at a time. It sounds repetitive, until someone discovers something incredible. Families have found valuable coins inside inherited collections. Children have spotted unusual pennies in spare change. Retired collectors have uncovered important varieties while sorting old jars that had been sitting untouched for decades. The next discovery could happen anywhere: at a gas station, a grocery store, an estate sale, or maybe even inside your own home. So what exactly should you check on your 2007 Lincoln penny? Start with the date. Confirm it's 2007. Look for the missing mint mark beneath the date. Remember, that's normal for Philadelphia coins, so don't assume you've struck gold just because there's no letter. Next, inspect the coin under bright lighting. Look carefully for off-center strikes. Search for doubled lettering. Check for die cracks. Notice unusual bumps caused by die chips. Look for missing design elements. Watch for dramatic errors that make the coin obviously different from normal examples. Then evaluate the condition. Does Lincoln's portrait remain sharp? Is the surface bright and original? Are there scratches? Has the coin been cleaned? Does it still have strong mint luster? These questions matter more than most people realize. If your coin appears unusually well preserved or displays a genuine mint error, consider having it evaluated by a respected grading service. Professional authentication gives buyers confidence and helps establish market value. Without authentication, extraordinary claims become much harder to prove. Here's something fascinating. The rare coin market is driven by emotion as much as rarity. Collectors don't simply buy metal. They buy stories. They buy history. They buy the thrill of owning something almost nobody else has. That's why one unusual penny can ignite bidding wars while millions of identical coins remain worth only face value. Every remarkable coin has its own story. Maybe it escaped quality control. Maybe it survived decades without entering circulation. Maybe it sat forgotten inside a family collection until someone finally looked closely. Those stories capture imaginations. And imagination fuels demand. So the next time someone hands you a handful of pennies, don't dismiss them. Take an extra minute. Look closely. You never know which tiny detail could separate an ordinary coin from an unforgettable discovery. Now I'm curious. Have you ever found a strange-looking penny that made you stop and wonder if it was special? Go check your change after this video, because your next penny could tell an incredible story. And if you enjoy uncovering hidden money hiding in everyday coins, make sure you subscribe, because the next coin we reveal might already be sitting in your pocket waiting to surprise you.